multi-millionaire, network marketing extraordinaire, Steve Carter. Please take it away.
My brother, Mr. Baldwin. How are you, man?
Man, never better. It's good to see you. Love that T-shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Hey, listen, I'm honored to be here. Greg, you know, I say it all the time, but it always warrants me to say it again. And that is, I appreciate your leadership, man, because it doesn't require millions of people for something to work. Now, it may enhance something to work when you got millions of people, right? But it only takes that core few people that are leading the millions. And that's a huge responsibility, man. It's a huge workload. It's a huge mental thing to get over. And you do it so gracefully, man. So I love working with people where I feel like, you know what? Let's get in the trenches together. Let's lock arms and let's affect those millions of people out there in such a positive way. So I just commend you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm here with you. And that's why we're here for this locker room training, guys. And so, as Greg stated to all of you, the topic for today, is my camera looking all right, Greg? Am I in the camera? Because I got my phone right here.
Oh, yeah, you're looking great, man. Everything. Do you need to access to your share screen or anything? Or you just going to go like
Nope. I got notes right here, man. And I was getting ready to say that, man. I was going to say, you know, what I like to do a lot of times is I train off of bullet points. So I jotted a couple of things down and I've got it on my notes here, but I like to speak from here and from here. And so I want to look at some of these topics, but then I want to talk to this family. I want to just share with you some of the things that I think can be a blessing to all of us. And I say us because we're all in the trenches. We're building something magical. And I've always said this, and I'll continue to say this. When you are creating history, it's difficult to recognize that until you look back on it. So when you're in the process of doing it, you may not recognize, like, we're creating something special here, family. And so, you know, it's easy to say it when all of a sudden you've got millions of people and people have filled their matrices and all this kind of stuff. It's easy to say, man, that was a hell of a time, or that was a wonderful mission or movement that these guys created. But it's hard to see it when you're in the bubble. Does that make sense? So here's what I want to talk about. Greg talked about my topic, which is focus and follow through. And the thing I want us to really, as leaders, as entrepreneurs, and it doesn't matter what level of entrepreneurship you're in at this particular time, because we all had a first day. We all had a beginning. We all had we didn't know what the heck we were doing. We were all there. So a lot of times when people see leaders today, when I look at Greg, or if you guys look at those of us that have the experience that I have as well, when you look at us today, it's easy to say, man, I wish I was where they are, or I wish I was doing what they were doing, or I wish I was earning what they're earning, or I wish I had that kind of posture. Well, you got to understand, this was all created over time. This was a learning curve. Like, we got in the trenches. We learned this stuff. We have, and I say have, not had, we have mentors, you know, so they're people that we follow. I always say these are virtual mentors. You don't always have to know the person, but you can have somebody that you identify with and you say, that's who I want to learn to pattern my leadership after. You know, you got to always be yourself, but you can pattern your leadership after people. And so when I look at this topic that I'm going to talk about today, focus and follow through, I want you to fully understand what that looks like. And you'll look at it from the perspective of through my lens. And that's what I want to share today, because I do have 25 years in business. And as Greg stated, I have had success in business, you know, millions of dollars. And I say that because I think it's normal for everybody to, a lot of people strive for, I want to be a millionaire, right? And that seven figures, something about that number, it indicates that you've had success, right? So the only reason I share the facts of the fact that we've made millions, multiple millions of dollars, is because I want you to understand that there was a beginning for us. And there was a time where I would come to a convention or come to a business meeting, and I didn't know if my credit card would go through. I mean, this is so I don't want you to feel like where you are today is indicative of where you're going. But you've got to start to want to make some changes yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Like immediately. So let's talk about these two words that I think are thrown around a lot of times. Focus, follow through. 3 words actually, right? Well, let's talk about focus. What is the definition of focus? Oh, that was something I did print out, but I realize now it's on my phone. I mean, I didn't print out. Anyway, we know focus means to zone in on something. You can take Webster's definition, right? To zone in on something and to lock in to where this is what you are choosing to do. That's just my version, not Webster's version, right? But I did look at both of those definitions. And then follow through is, we're not talking about the Steph Curry follow through shooting a basketball. We're talking about finishing what you began. And that is a huge, huge hurdle that I see a lot of people not clear. A lot of people that get into business, like Greg just mentioned, gym memberships go through the roof in January, February 1st, they're back to normal. Why? It levels out, right? I do a lot of cryptocurrency stuff, right? Cryptocurrencies can spike, and then all of a sudden they come down faster than they went up. And that's because people are excited for a season. And a lot of times that season is really, really short. And that's why, and I want you to get this is a choice. That's why a small percentage of people have the kind of success that a large percentage of people want to have. What is it, like 3% of the population, like 2.7% of the population makes $100,000 or more annually? I mean, so when we talk 7 figures, it's even less than that, obviously, right? So you got to think about what separates the way that the person who's in the 3% versus the person who's in the 97%. Because let me give you a revelation here. It's a choice. It's not luck. Not always. It can have some luck in there, but it's also a choice. You can make a conscious decision that you're going to get something done. So let's talk about this. In this particular business, and I want you to also understand this, family, when it comes to focus and follow through, the first thing I want you to ask yourself, ask this question and be honest with your answer. Who does it help if you master focus and follow through? Who does it help? The obvious rhetorical answer, you. So recognize you're going to bless a lot of people in the process, but when you can get focused and when you can learn to follow through, it will change your life. And so let's have that honest talk right now. And I want you to be honest with you. Nobody can hear you. Greg and I, we're not going to hear your answer unless you post it on here, which, I love transparency. So I want you to answer this question. Have you really committed to those 2 things? Have you committed to staying focused? And have you committed to following through? Let's be honest here, family. This is locker room, right? We're going to go out and still win the championship, regardless of who the players decide, who you decide whether or not you want to be a player here at Co-op Life, right? But the bottom line is, if you're honest with yourself, ask right now to you. Look in that mirror. Have you focused and committed to this? Now, I know if everybody's honest, the majority of the answers that should be flying up through here is no. I see absolutely not. I love that, right? Because you got to first be honest with you, to you. So if that's the case, it's okay. It doesn't mean we can't win a championship. It just means let's change it right now. God has created this thing called a brain where we can turn on the dime. We can say, man, it's Saturday the 23rd. I'm going to commit and I'm going to focus and I'm going to follow through. And from the 23rd moving forward, your whole life can change. It at least can change the direction. Now, it's not going to happen in one step. It may take 1,000. It may take 10,000, 100,000, 1,000,000 steps. But it starts with taking one step, right? I think it was Martin Luther King that said, when he talked, it's an expression he said about a staircase, but his point was, it starts with taking the first step. Like if you look at a staircase and it's got thousands of steps, in order for you to get to the top, you got to at least take the first doggone step. So that's the first thing I want every single member of this family to understand, that, all right, forget the past. That's in the rearview mirror, right? Yesterday, rearview mirror. 10 minutes ago, rearview mirror. Right now, let's talk about moving forward, right? Let's talk about changing the world together. So there, if we know let's not beat ourselves up if you haven't committed, if you haven't been focused, and if you haven't followed through, because now it's a new day. So let's move forward with no guilt. Let's move forward with open optimism. Let's move forward knowing that you can accomplish it, because this particular platform, I don't believe that there's any human being breathing and watching and listening under the sound of my voice where God hasn't given you the ability to do this. Like, this is not something where it's like, I just wasn't built with that skill. I wasn't born with that skill to do co-op crowd. Like, that doesn't exist, family. So you got it in you. It's just like, let's wake up that little giant that's sleeping, right? So here's what I want to talk about. Let's talk about focus first. Okay, well, I think the number one aspect of focus is you got, as an entrepreneur, recognize the potential. That's the first part of focusing is to first, okay, what do I have my hands on, right? Recognize the potential of what you have your hands on. We talked about the 3 beliefs on another training, right? But the bottom line is, once you recognize that you do have something that can, in fact, change not just your life, but you can change millions of other people's lives. And that's a huge if you do your part and you teach and train and help others to do their part. So let's recognize the potential. Now, and what I mean by that is, let's talk about setting something called a goal. Now, that goal can be vast. That goal can be broad. But every single one of us, we have something in here and something we're thinking about, something we wake up, something that we can't wait to let our feet plant the ground when we get out of the bed to go and accomplish. We all have those things, right? If not, we got a whole nother leadership we need to do. But if you have something that you want to accomplish, well, then you ought to get up inspired to do it. And it takes one step at a time. I talk about when you are thinking about building that dream home. Well, it starts with a brick, right? First, it starts with laying the foundation, pouring the concrete. It's not, you're not going to see the finished product on day one. But if you know what you want, you got a blueprint and you understand it, you can see it in your mind, it's going to happen. So when I look at my goal, first I'm going to give you guys my vast goal, right? My vast goal is, for this, real simple. Fill the doggone matrix. That's my first goal. Put 80,000 people in this thing. That's the first goal. So now, in order for me to get to 80,000, the first thing I need to do is get to 8,000. But before I get to 8,000, I need to go and get to 800. Before I get to 800, I need to get 8, right? So the point is, you can start thinking right now about what's going to happen. But if you're going to get to that number of having 80,000 people, which eventually what's going to happen is the connections are going to start happening outside of what you're doing, right? When you start having that exponential growth, it's going to happen independently of your day-to-day. But you are the one that has to start it off. You're the one that's got to pick up the snow, right? You pick it up and pack the snowball, but you got to be the one to start rolling until you find a hill, until that snow starts picking up more snow. It's not going to go. It's not going to go on its own. It's not going to take off without you until you get the ball rolling, right? And so with that being said, set your goal, whatever that may be. And here's what I love about this whole concept. And Greg and I and some of the other leaders, we're talking about changing the game in this thing in a good way, meaning enhancing what we already have and communicating that message in a way where we know it's going to hit you in your heartstrings. And so what I love about setting a goal is the first thing you got to think about in order for that to become easy to do is, what's your cause? Like, what's the reason you're doing this? That's the whole reason the model was built, for us to help people accomplish their own cause. Right? And so you may have a cause today that might enhance or change tomorrow, but grab something right now that says, if I was able to accomplish X or Y or Z, well, man, what would my life look like? Right? So identify your cause. And then when you identify your cause, get passionate about it. Be willing to share it with other people, because if people start to understand how passionate you are about your own cause, they'll get excited about helping you accomplish it. And guess what it might also do? Trigger their thoughts to say, man, I would love to accomplish X, Y, or Z. So you start to identify and have conversations with other people about their cause, which leads me to this next point. Write this down. is you've got to make sure you are following a process. I'm a systems kind of guy. So it's not a matter of wake up, hope that some people are going to sign up, hope that they're going to send in their 84 and everything's going to be, what you want. No, it's like, okay, what's the process of this thing? And let's not overcomplicate. Greg says it all the time. This is the simplest thing ever. We as human beings tend to complicate it. So I just believe if you want to just look at a blanket understanding of what the process is, none of you can go wrong if you just simply do this. You know what the process is with this thing? Continue sharing it with people. That's the process. If you did this, if you screwed up everything else and you just continued sharing it with new people, continued following up with people that weren't negative, maybe they weren't ready then, but you share it and continue to follow up with other people, you will not go wrong. You won't do anything other than build it if you look at it from that perspective. So the process is continue to share it. Now, of course, we're going to zone in, and that's what the leadership team, you got to be comfortable and believe in the fact that we as a leadership team, we're putting some things together to simplify the sharing process. We're putting some things together to automate the sharing process. It's going to always have an element of human nature where you got to be involved. You got to be able to articulate, but you'll be able to direct some people, all your people to technology that will do the heavy lifting, right? So that's all we want. We can't expect it to do 100%, but if you got some technology that can do 90% of getting the message out, you can handle 10%. I don't care what your skill level is, your experience level, your age, your background, your education, none of that matters. You can do 10% if the 90% is in place. I promise you, this leadership team, we are huddling up consistently, and we are going to do everything we can to provide where the heavy lifting is done. And here's what I mean by this. We're going to unify the process because guess what? This is so good, you can get it done. If I did it my way, Greg does it his way, Nicole does it her way, Dak does it his way, Alan does it his way. We can still get it done, but if we unify, or shall I say, when we unify, which we're doing right now as we speak, we're unifying this process. And so it's going to be something, one band, one sound. All of us are going to be doing exactly the same thing, and we're going to teach every single one of you how to do it. And so here's what I want you to realize. Co-op Crowd is a baby right now. It's a baby. And like a lot of my kids, when they're looking back at pictures and things like that, like my oldest daughter's 17, my other daughter's 15. She's got homecoming this weekend. It's amazing how fast they grow up. My son is 12. My other son is 10. But let me tell you what's consistent. When they look at some of their baby pictures, a lot of times they'll say, oh, that don't even look like me. Oh, man, what was I wearing? Or what was it? You know why? It's a baby. It wasn't developed yet, right? That person, so same thing with Co-op Crowd. This thing is a baby. It hasn't even developed yet. So the stuff we're looking at today, we'll look back on it and say, man, look how it has grown. Look how it has matured. Look how it has grown up. Look how it has expanded. So I look at it like a baby. So it doesn't matter if it's not the cutest thing right now. That doesn't matter. It's where is this thing going? When this thing becomes fully mature and this thing is grown, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be one of the finest things you could see. Once it matures. But in the meantime, we have to develop it. We have to help grow it. We have to guide it. We have to parent it, nurture it, right? So we've got to do that as a collective body of leaders. So don't worry about where we are today. Let's just make sure that we know and recognize that it's the beginning stages of where we're going. So with that being said, we're going to attract the large numbers. The law of large numbers in terms of let's get out here and get this message out to as many people as we can, because the law of large numbers will never fail us. The person that looks like the genius that makes all the money, look, it's because that person has a body of people in this type of structure that are independently doing something. So it doesn't make us any better than anybody else, other than maybe we were instrumental in creating that body. But at the same time, when you've got 10,000 people in your group or 1,000 people, or heck, if you've got 100 people in your group, 100 people can outwork you 10 out of 10 times, no matter how hard you work. If you got 10% of them to do anything, they still can get more accomplished than you alone. So it's a matter of recognizing that, you know what, right now, this whole organization doesn't even have, 50,000 active people, 25,000 active people in it. So if you understand that, like, this hasn't even begun yet. So the law of large numbers is going to work to our advantage because there's 7 billion people. We can operate in over 100 countries with this decentralized wallet. So we've got the blueprint, the landscape, the playing field, the canvas is endless. So let's just never forget that. Another point I want to make is distractions are going to come. That's the antithesis of focus, right? Is distraction. Now, we all know that when you wake up every single day, a distraction is going to be thrown at you. And I want you to look at it from this perspective. When a distraction is presented to you, you may not even recognize consciously that, this is a distraction. It's just life. Something that comes up. You got to do something with the kids, or the job's got you doing extra work. You're doing overtime, or you got sick, or anything, or some family member got sick. Anything that shows up, it's in the form of a distraction. And so you've got to be able to balance and juggle these things, because priority always supersedes getting sidetracked. So if you allow yourself to get sidetracked, you got to realize whatever that current thing that's showing up as a distraction, if that doesn't have the value that this has, if you ever weigh those values and the value of you accomplishing this, not just the fact that it's there, but when you accomplish this and you get this to where you want it, that value 10 out of 10 times is more valuable than whatever distraction that shows up. So you got to learn how to say, okay, even though this is going on in my life, I still know I got this. And this is something that I have to stay committed to. That's what focus is. So those different points, wrapping that part up, is recognize the potential, set your goal, make sure you have your cause, recognize other people's cause. Let's master a process. Some of that's going to come from us because we're going to provide that to all of you. Make sure that you understand that you're using the technology to do it. We're going to unify the process. And the law of large numbers will always work to your advantage. Now, if we and manage distractions accordingly. Don't be unrealistic to think that they're not going to come. And don't think that if something comes, you got to leave this alone while you handle that. That's not the definition of juggling and balancing distractions and commitment and focus. So those are the things that I would say we should focus on in terms of that term called focus, right? And if we're honest with ourselves, we know we're all off track when it comes to that, right? So now let's talk about follow through. First thing I want to ask all of you is, when is the last time you set a goal and hit it? Yeah, that's that loud silence right now. You know, when's the last time you set a goal and hit it? I didn't say when's the last time you set a goal. We do that all day long, multiple times. When's the last time you hit it? You hit your goal. When's the last time you felt like that was worth it? Whatever I had to go through, it was worth it. Because I can tell you right now, when you set the goal the right way and the goal is lofty enough, has enough value in it, whenever you accomplish that goal, it did not matter what you had to go through to accomplish the goal. It didn't matter. It's insignificant. It's irrelevant. Why? Because you got it done. I'll never forget all the things that it took for me to, when I was going after my first million, right? And I was working my ass off. I always had my phone up to my ear, blah, blah, blah. My sweet mother, who's one of my favorite women in the whole world, my mom, my wife, and my two daughters, they're the top four, right? But I met my sweet mom, who's 83 years old, still acts like she's in her 60s. But she used to always say, put that damn phone down. And I would always respectfully say, no, I'm not putting it down until I can cut it off. And the point was, I understood, do it now. Get focused now. Grind every day now. And then it became a point where I didn't have to answer my phone anymore because stuff was automated. Stuff was coming in without me having to do anything, right? With this particular platform that I was building at that time, we had gotten it up to where millions of dollars came in. And for about 8 years in a row, every single month felt like a lucrative year. Every single 30 days felt like a lucrative year. And at that point, at the height of it, it really took less than 10% effort on my part. I mean, I was enjoying every aspect of it for 8 years in a row. Now, that particular platform didn't last forever, but I made millions of dollars. So as long as you take that money and flip it and do the things you got to do, you can be okay. So I don't want you to feel like something can't happen. I mean, obviously we hope and pray everything stays solid with this, but let's understand that whatever we're doing now, we always have to prepare for the future. So when it comes to follow through, set your goal and don't let your foot off the gas. Don't take your hands off the steering wheel until you get to your destination. Look, I used to use an analogy. It just popped in my head, actually. I used to train an analogy of if you're going from point A to point B and you're getting into a car, which we refer to as a vehicle. Well, guess what? This is a business vehicle, but no, we understand a car, a vehicle. You're going from point A to point B. There's going to be a certain number of miles in between the starting point and the ending destination. But guess what else it is? Man, there's traffic lights, there's potholes, there's roadblocks, there's deviations, there's distractions, there's restaurants, there's all kinds of stuff. But if you get in that car and you know I'm going to this destination, well then until you take your foot off the gas and take your hands off the steering wheel, until you do that, you're still on your way there. But if you get out at a rest stop or whatever, you're not necessarily on your way there, right? You stop for whatever reason. But as long as you get back in the car, start it back up, put your hands on the wheel, put your foot on the gas, now you're back on track, right? You're getting closer. And every single square inch is getting you closer. Every single remaining amount of distance is getting smaller because you're still going towards it. You're still following through. Now, you might run into a roadblock. You might run into a pothole. I just got back from Discount Tires this morning. Why? I've had a slow leak for the last week, and I've been saying I got to get this nail fixed. So I had to take my daughter to get to cheerleading this morning, so I went over to Discount Tires. They fixed the tire. The point is, if that happened on a road trip, I got to get it fixed. So it's not like I'm not going to get to the destination. Oh, now I can't go to California because I got a flat tire. No, you get the damn tire fixed, right? So whatever comes your way in terms of follow through is don't look at it like something's going to present itself to you to a point where it totally knocks you out of the box, where now you've decided I don't want to go to Millionaire Island. I don't want to go to my Millionaire Island anymore because I got a flat tire. How crazy does that sound? So if you know Millionaire Island exists, get there. Do whatever you got to do to get there. So the roadblocks, the traffic lights, you might get pulled over, you might get tired, need a little rest, all of that stuff. But you still are going to go there. And so you got to follow through. So how do we do that with this? Stay plugged in. Stay plugged in. I might have used this analogy once before, but I trained it for 20 years. I like to grill a lot. If you have charcoal on a grill, look, that stuff is white hot when you're grilling. If one charcoal falls out the grill, guess what happens? In 5 minutes, you can pick that up. It totally cools off. Why? It separates from the rest. So if you're not plugging in, if you're not on these locker rooms, if you're not knowing what's going on, if you're not connected with all of us that are going someplace, all that's going to happen is you're going to get further and further behind to getting to Millionaire Island, right? We're all going. Guess what? I got my ticket. I'm going, right? And they're going to let me in as soon as I get there, but I'm on my way there. And guess what? I'm coming from Dallas. Greg's coming from Ohio. We're all coming from different directions, but we got one common destination. That's Millionaire Island. So let's get there. And guess what? If it's really an island, we can't get there in car. So whenever we get to the point where we can't go no further until we get in the boat, then goddamn it, we got to get in the boat. Excuse my language, but I don't care if we got to swim or whatever. Let's get there. But it doesn't mean that the little distractions are going to stop us. So now, keep your team plugged in as well. Because the bottom line is, it ain't fun if we're the only one on the island. So if we get there, we're ready to throw a party, and we can't really party because all of y'all stopped. All of y'all are wait. Y'all hadn't even got to the water yet. You still in the car, right? You pulled over at the rest stop. You still asleep. Whatever it may be. So we got to realize, let's have this destination that we're locking arms and we're going to get there together. And when we get there together, then let's party. In the meantime, let's stay focused. Let's have our navigation in our minds to where we know we're going to get there. It's not a matter of does it exist. It's okay, I'm not there right now. I'm all the way in Texas, but I got to get there. That's how you got to look at this whole destination thing. So now, and I'm going to wrap this thing up. You got to ask yourself if the process is sharing it with people, which is the simple blanket kind of over, just the easiest way to look at the process is sharing it with people. How many times are you implementing the process every day? So how many times are you getting in the car and driving a little further? How many times? If you're not in the car, or if you're going in the opposite direction, right? What's the opposite direction? Distractions. So if Millionaire Island is this way and you find yourself driving this way, you're not doing anything but getting further away from it. That's the distraction. That's the everyday stuff that comes up, rears its ugly head, and you fall for it. And I don't mean it disrespectfully, but that's what happens. That's why 3% of the population makes over $100,000 a year, which is really no money. And I say that with respect, but it's the truth, right? So now, I'm going to wrap it up with this. The last thing, this is a bonus topic. And it's one word: change. Yeah, that's the one that kills a whole lot of people's dreams. Change. Now, let me just say this. In business, change is normal. In business, change is normal. So we're talking about implementing some things that might be considered a change, right? It's all good stuff, but we're implementing some things that might be a little different from what you were accustomed to when you first got in. It's going to simplify it. It's going to make it sweeter and more fun, all that, but it's still change. Somebody will find a problem in change. Just don't let that somebody be you. Because I have the mindset that if I got to replace the entire team, so be it. So don't ever let somebody else's lack of vision stop you from getting the Millionaire Island, right? I mean, some people will find the problem in anything. You can give them a delicious donut. They're gonna complain about the hole, right? So don't worry about how others think. Don't let them change the way you think. So change is normal. And you got to learn, can you pivot if and when change happens? You can, and as long as the opportunity is the same. Right now, there's nobody, if I'm not mistaken, there's nobody that has filled their matrix yet. But does that mean the matrices can't be filled? No, that's not what that means. So it's not like it's not going to happen. It's just we're all in the process of making it happen. But if you got to pivot to do that, then let's just pivot because the opportunity is still there. The only time an opportunity, in my opinion, that you should ever consider not following through is if the potential results have changed. Now that, we don't want to be naive and act like that would be a bad thing to change. If all of a sudden now the system doesn't work, all of a sudden, they're not going to pay out or the payments aren't coming, which none of that stuff is reality here. What I'm saying is if the potential is the same, the only variable in the success equation is us. We're the ones in the equation that makes the difference of what the result ends up being. So last but not least, be willing to find new people when others don't adopt all these things that I'm sharing with you, because most won't. And that's the only reason that the ratio of success is where it is today, 3% versus 97%. Most people are comfortable with the 97%. Let me tell you why in conclusion. Because when they look around, that's where everybody else is. All their families, all their friends, all the people they associate with are right there. So it starts to feel normal to fall in that category of 97%, to fall in that category of complaining about what's not going right, to falls in the category of complaining about not having enough money, having more month at the end of the money, complaining about not covering bills. When you got a whole bunch of other people doing it, even though we know it's not a good thing, it's not where you want to be, it makes you feel normal when everybody else is doing it. But when you become a leader, that becomes almost like a cancer. You don't want no parts of somebody settling in that 97 percentile. So I'm on a mission. I'm going to find these 3%ers because it don't take a whole lot of us, but I'm going to find these 3%ers that think just like me, think just like Greg, and we're going to build this thing. And I'm going right back to my original goal, which is to fill my matrix. That is what we're going to do. So, Greg, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and I hope it was some value to people, and let's roll, family. I got your back, Greg. I'm on the front lines with you. Let's do it.
Hey, man, let me tell you something. I mean, I'm over here. I'm jacked out of my mind, as they